Greetings world, us hairy game lords have been playing this Age of Inventors by Meeple Pug. But what did we think? Find out.
Hipster King here, and I'll try and do a brief overview of what you're going to be doing in Age of Inventors. So you start with a little bit of drafting. You're going to tile drafting around the Inventors. You have a nice big hex grid that you're going to be laying Inventors and Inventions out. Inventors are going to give you kind of additional abilities as the game goes on that you can use. Some of those will be regular use, some will be once per turn, and you are going to be also placing out inventions, which are also hex tiles onto the board. Those inventions have to match the colour of because there'll be particular types of inventions will go with particular types of inventor. So you've got sort of physics inventions, you've got industrial inventions, that kind of thing. And your inventions are, a whole load of different ones. We'll show you some more of the stuff in a minute. And those inventions will be grouped around your inventors. The inventions are going to provide you with kind of instant bonuses in terms of resources, but also they are going to push you up the main scoring mechanism. There are a few other scoring mechanisms in the game, but there are 3 key tracks that you're going to try and get up those tracks. The higher up the tracks at the end of the game, you're going to be scoring, I think it's 8, 4, 2 and 1 victory points. So getting up those tracks is vital. Alongside that, there are sort of 2 key things you're going to be doing on your turn. You are either going to be placing your meeples. You can place your meeples out onto the inventors, because the inventors will provide you with a kind of specific ability. It might be converting one resource into another. It might be converting one type of resource into 2 or 3 types of resources. So it becomes a little bit like an engine builder. So you've got 4 of these wonderful little lab assistant type meeples, these pointing at the board there. They're going to be going out onto the board, or also going out onto your own lab board, where you will, each round you're going to be drafting and paying for from a market a specific piece of lab equipment. That again will either provide you with single resources or conversions to be able to swap your resources and develop your resources. Why are you going to need those resources? Well, you're going to need those resources to do your 4 switch actions. So you've got on a round, each player will have 4 workers to place out and 4 switch actions. So your workers are going to go onto your board or onto the inventors to get and change resources, and your switches are about collecting inventors. So basically hiring the inventors. That could use 1 switch. Creating, if you like, conceiving an invention, which is taking an invention from the market of inventions and paying ideas, one of the resources in the game, to be able to claim that. And then you might use 1 to place your inventor, and then 1 to place your invention. So you're basically choosing your actions, using your switches, and using your workers to gain the resources. And there are various levels of inventor, various levels of invention. So picking the right one at the right time is vital. And holding on to the right one and using it at the right time. So I got a really powerful invention that allowed me to reset 3 of my switches. That gives me 3 more goes, basically. But I had to time it right, because if I played it too early, other people might have stolen the things that I needed to do. Loads of other bits in this game that I really enjoyed. It's kind of a midweight game in terms of it. It doesn't feel too punitive. Some Euros, you're kind of absolutely fighting over the tiniest piece of resource, and if you lose that resource, that's it, your game's over. This is resource heavy. Getting resources is easy. The key part of this game is about when and where to place your inventors and inventions to maximise your opportunities to score points by flying up those tracks and using your kind of ingenuity, which is the other track, which is one of those where you're, depending on how many people below you, you often get additional resources based on the inventions you play. Really, really clever little game. Really enjoyed a lot of this. There were a couple of bits that we weren't 100% sure about, but I think that was more about the way we played it. I think we got quite lucky with some of the draws that we did and didn't quite realise that there were deliberately within the game these kind of 3 levels of inventors and inventions. And so sometimes some of those cards felt a little bit overpowered, but actually the only reason they were overpowered is because they were deliberately overpowered, and we all should have known that. And so I think this is one of those games where after a couple of plays, when you really start to get to know the synergies and which cards and which tiles are better to get, then there'll be more of a fight to get those, and making sure you've got the right resources to be able to get those when they come up will be a key part of the game. Definitely check this out. In terms of the component quality, this is just a prototype. The component quality was outstanding. I'll let the others talk about some of the other bits that they like.
Slightly Bearded James here. I am loving the way we've got the box next to us here. Now, my first thoughts on this game, when I saw the box, I was like, yeah, I'm not sure. It looks pretty crazy. There's a lot of just everything going on in this box. But I think it's because they take so much from the history of science and invention to make this game. My favourite thing about this game is that it is incredibly thematic. Now, bear in mind, we've got a prototype, so I've printed it off this sheet here. In fact, it was Pete who printed it off. Thank you very much, Pete. I would love to tell you about the 4 different laboratories. And each person's going to get their own board, and they all look different. And they've all got this cog on, which is for the money. It's got the switches. And on the other side, it's got the same thing again, but it's different. I think that this game is fantastic because it is so incredibly thematic. You could choose one of 4 of the factions. You could be the government, you could be the universities, you could be the corporation, you could be the innovators. Each one has a different flavour, taste, asymmetry, if you like those crunchy words. And even then, once you've chosen your faction, you get to choose what kind of those things. So I'm just going to show you a little example here. So, for example, you've got the, universities. Inside universities, you could go for the Metropolitan or the Polytechnic. Both of those are universities in the style of play, but played differently. I was a University Metropolitan. Sorry, really struggling to read there. And that meant that when I was doing using my lab assistants on my equipment, so for example, when I played onto my personal board to get the benefits there, I could also use the abilities of one of the scientists out on the board. It was really good because I essentially would get my free pick of an extra thing to do every single time I used one of my pieces of equipment. It was a really good way for me to accumulate loads and loads of resources in science and knowledge, which I then turned into inventions and all kinds of stuff. I love the way that each of these 4 different factions played very differently, but they all felt balanced and fair. None of us felt like we had an advantage that was disproportional. We all felt like we had an advantage, but it was one that worked so lovely. Oh, my favourite thing, and Dave's going to tell you all about this. Dave was the government, because Dave loves the government. And Dave, my favourite moment of the game, so as Dave was doing his stuff, and he'll tell you all about this, I'm sure, he had a special invention, I think it was, he placed, which meant that he just snaffled up inventors. He came and he dried up our reservoir of inventors. The government essentially sat on all of this pile of inventors. They weren't doing anything. And then Dave, the wily government, then disposed of them in a room somewhere to the side. And I love the story that we told through this of Dave and his nefarious ways. But you can't hear me right now, so I can say whatever I want about him. Love you, Dave. If you want a thematic game, this is probably the most thematic science worker placement type game that I've played. For that reason, I love this.
Angela Bearded Lady here. Yes, this game. Artwork. Really like the artwork in this game. As you can see from the box art, this is what you've got in terms of going on in the game. As you can see, just very nice thematic boards, even with the kind of the switches that you can move over and stuff like that. Then you've got a whole series of great little inventions that are going on. Really, really nice artwork, nice clear artwork. The iconography as well is very clear and is easy to understand once you get used to it. And then you have the components themselves. The resources are really nice, wooden, screen printed resources, super nice components. The card quality and stock of the cards is really nice. You're getting for your money a really good game in terms of components and artwork. It was an attractive game on the table. It looked great with all of the just the board as it filled up, and it was a good game to play. There was a few niggles and stuff like that, which I sometimes think you get on when you just play the game for one time, and that's what we're doing. We're playing the game one time. This is our first thoughts of the game, but those kind of niggles and stuff will be put to the test the second time and third time we play this game, and maybe even ironed out and stuff like that. So for now, I would say I enjoyed this game. Certainly check it out and get involved.
Hi, Dave the Grey. Now, obviously, I chose to be the authoritarian government because why wouldn't I be? At the end of every round, you get to pick one of these time to play board game times cards, which do one of two things. So this one, you can place a meeple on the centre hex to reset one of your switches.
Whoa.
Thank you, James. Or all players start with one less switch than they should have. This one, when recruiting, you can select 2 inventors with 1 switch, and 2 choices on every one. So you get to vote for which one of these you want. Thumbs up, thumbs down, nice and easy. However, because I'm the government and I control the media and all of that kind of thing, people that voted against me, I get to steal an idea from them.
Ooh.
Way! And it led to some really cool, it was kind of almost like a little mini game at the end of each round. It was ace, because these guys, you could see them trying to think what I was going to vote for so they could vote for me, whereas I was sat there trying to double bluff them, trying to think what they would think I was going to vote for, and then voting the other way purely so I could nick their ideas. It was quite a little brain melter just in the middle there, and for the most part it was quite entertaining, and it got me loads of ideas, because generally my government track, I'm the government, I don't have ideas, obviously, I just steal other people's ideas, and that my idea is to buy a new kettle, it'll be ace. But yeah, that was a really cool sort of intermission in between sort of the buying the inventors and putting inventions down, which I really, really enjoyed. So yeah, if you like that kind of thing. As a game itself, there was loads of good stuff in there to really enjoy. Now, no joking at the back, I actually studied archaeology because I'm old, because that's how it works.
He belongs in a museum.
I belong in a museum. So all of the I love history and what have you, so the inventions and the inventors. I was disappointed that the horse hoe and seed drill invented by Jethro Tull didn't come up. Maybe we should put that in the next one, because that's the kind of thing I know. So this was pretty much right down my street. So loads of really cool stuff, and seeing the different inventors come up. It's a bit weird sometimes when, Aristotle invented the spaceship, but different inventors, different inventions. There's actually a bit of education in here. Don't tell Ange though, because he just looks confused with that kind of thing. So yeah, some really good stuff. I think this is still in development, so there were a few balance issues. Pete obviously won by just fluking his way.
You won.
I didn't win, did I?
You did. You beat me, and rather frustratingly.
Brilliant.
I won!
No, Dave didn't win.
I didn't win.
Dave cheated in the first round.
Oh,
over and over. Ooh, Dave.
Did multiple things with his 4
So,
switches.
7 actions on his
Mistakes were made.
So, in the first round, a few mistakes were made, and I may have inadvertently cheated a little bit by using more switches than I had.
You did.
But-
you did do that.
In my defence, when we drafted at the start, I got some really rubbish cards, which I think my main thing on this was my starting draft was appalling. It was like absolutely criminally poor compared to everybody else's. Pete and Ange fluked their way to some like awesome cards right at the start. So I feel that my use of a couple of extra switches was entirely legitimate. And Pete at the end ended up with a card that just like reset all of his switches, so he got like 15 turns on the last turn of the game.
Slight exaggeration.
It's a slight exaggeration,
and
but
I may have played it really strategically
Pete,
well, holding
Pete.
on to it for a while.
Pete, I own the media. Shut up. So a few sort of minor balance issues aside, there's loads of good stuff in here. I don't think I've played a game based on sort of inventors and inventions that sort of lays out like that Hex does. So quite a novel sort of game as well. These little cards, the voting, genius. So overall, I will give it 2 thumbs up. Just needs a little bit of balance and maybe sort of tempering the initial draft, making everybody get some slightly worse cards, so the good cards are available for that sort of, that last sort of turn or two push towards the let's lay out the really good stuff, and the first couple of turns are laying that groundwork. I think we were just lucky if you're Pete, unlucky if you're me, and that there was quite a disparity in what people got early doors. But I still won, and I control the media, so don't listen to anybody else, because who else is there to listen to? The internet? Don't listen to the internet, that's insane. And anyway, like and subscribe below.